Do we have any questions yet, Stephanie?
Looks like we do. Is there a way to customize packing lists per customer in Fishbowl?
We can we can create custom reports for your custom packing lists and tie them to the individual customers so that the packing list you want will prompt when I'm shipping something to that customer.
So that's something that you would do separately or within Fishbowl?
Okay, so if you have a programming frame of mind, you can learn iReport and do them yourselves. However, I've never learned iReport personally. I rely on a couple of programmers to do my custom reports, and they do a good job. And then Fishbowl also offers customized reports.
Okay.
But you can tie them, you know, to individual customers, so that's the packing list that gets used. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Next question.
She asked, we have our asset valuation and inventory valuation reports, but they show different amounts for the same date. Why? So I'm going to go ahead and unmute them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Sharmini, did you run them on the same day?
Yes, I did.
At the same time?
At the same time, one right after the other.
Okay, which reports did you run?
I ran the asset valuation report, and then I ran the inventory valuation report for the year end, December 31st.
Oh, no. Did you do this on December 31st?
I did it one day later, both one day later.
Okay, so neither of those reports is going to be 100% accurate for 12/31 because they weren't run on 12/31.
Okay.
If you are an existing client, could you check your Fishbowl and see if you have set up here on a schedule a guy called D-value that runs every night? Because that is value 12/31.
Okay. Sorry, where am I going to go for this? Setup.
We're going to go into setup and then schedule.
Schedule, yeah.
And then I have a habit of creating this D-value or daily valuation report to run every evening for all my clients.
My main question on these reports is that I expected them to give me the same values, but they give different values, and I wondered why.
Well, you dated one the 31st of December, right?
No, I printed them both on the 1st and one after the other.
Okay, so which of the two reports is it?
The one called Asset Valuation Report.
Okay.
And the other one is the Inventory Valuation Report.
Summary?
So I expect them to be, you have the LIFO, FIFO, standard, and average. So I thought one of those columns will give me a value that's similar or very close to what I see in the Inventory Valuation Report.
Okay. So an inventory valuation summary. What did you choose? Because this report only does average and standard. What is your level? What is your cost?
Okay.
So if you come over here to accounting, integration, tools, module options, and this costing tab, it will tell you what costing algorithm Fishbowl is using.
What costing algorithm? Okay. Accounting integration. Sorry, you need to take me back to how you went in there.
Okay. I went to accounting integration.
Accounting integration. Oh, okay.
And I went to Tools, Module Options, and then this
Tools.
third tab over is the costing method that you have selected to run your company by.
So
And
we
this
are using FIFO.
okay, so when I look at the report
Mm-hmm.
for inventory valuation,
Mm-hmm.
it only has two costing methods that it works for, average and standard.
Okay.
So if you're not, so this report does not support LIFO costing or FIFO costing. So by
Okay.
definition, you probably ran it with the average cost.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be different from your FIFO cost.
Okay. So it's just that I see all three in a column on the asset valuation report.
Correct. That's the way that report is designed.
Mm-hmm. So if we are running it on FIFO, wouldn't the FIFO column be the same as our inventory valuation or the?
No, because the inventory valuation does not support FIFO costing.
Oh, I see. Okay.
FIFO is
It
not a choice on this report.
does not support the FIFO. Okay. And so if I'm going to take, so if I want a year-end value, which is the better report?
The report that you want to run is on December 31st
Mm-hmm.
or January, okay? Did you
Mm-hmm.
check to see if I set this up for you?
Oh, okay.
Because this is your asset valuation report that supports all the costing methods. And I
Mm-hmm.
typically have it set up to run
Mm-hmm.
at 10 o'clock at night, every night.
Every night? Okay.
So if you have this report
Mm-hmm.
scheduled, you can follow the little pencil and it'll tell you where it's being saved.
Oh, okay. Let me.
And then when you get to that directory, you want to find a report that says D-value 1231. And that is going to be your inventory value on the 31st.
Okay. So, okay. I'm under scheduled tasks. I'm sorry. You need to take me back again.
Sure.
Okay.
We also have this recorded. We have this recorded and you'll be able to access it again by tomorrow.
Oh,
And
okay.
you can go through it much slower.
I'll check the video then.
Perfect. Okay. Then Sharmini, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next person.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have Ashley here. She has a question. Is there a way to have the item numbers transfer over from Fishbowl to QuickBooks Desktop Pro? We found that we cannot do that.
This falls under the pretty QuickBooks invoice concept. So if I come up here to accounting integration and I go to tools, module options, I have all these nice choices, okay? And here under the QuickBooks tab, I can set, typically I want to set the invoice number to be the Fishbowl shipment number. And then I'm going to set this to be the part number. And typically I set up this one to be the unit of measure, okay? So what this does is from this moment forward, that part number will go over into QuickBooks. And what I do in QuickBooks is I go to my templates. And I'm going to take an Intuit product invoice, edit template. So make a copy because Intuit wants you to do that. Copy. And I usually name this my Fishbowl invoice. Okay, and then I'm going to customize this. So I'm going to come here to my columns, and I am going to add other one, and this checkbox controls what I see on my screen. This checkbox controls what prints, what the customer can see, and I can put my product right here, and I can uncheck the print so my customer doesn't see the FB underscore item. They just see the product. And then if I need my unit of measure to come over, I can put that in here. Okay. And then I can go and make my guy pretty. I can change the order of these. So I probably want this to be second guy in line. And so that will change it so that this product number will be my fishbowl number. Okay.
And will I be able to pull reports searching for that product number?
You can pull any report that supports other one. And there are only a few of them that do that, but any report that supports other one, you can pull a report, yes, in QuickBooks.
So what they're wanting to do is that QuickBooks generally reports are a lot cleaner than Fishbowls in regards to pulling sales reports. So what we were trying to do is go to a particular customer and say, how many of this one particular item did we sell to them, gross margin? And
I lost you. So in QuickBooks, I lost what you were saying, but I can guess what you were saying. You can come over here to custom reports, transaction detail, and then this reports other one and other two. I have no data in this QuickBooks file because I made it right before we started the meeting, or actually, but I can go ahead now and post from my Fishbowl file to this QuickBooks file, just to get an idea of what that would look like.
Okay, so that's just a one report.
Pardon?
This is their pulled the custom detail report.
Yeah, that's the one I would probably start off with.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. So we have a next question. Oh, by the way, there's also a video on our website and YouTube on how to make that pretty QuickBooks invoice. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Greg. Greg has this question. Does Fishbowl have a way to handle unplanned issues or exceptions? For example, if our R&D department uses a finished good to create another finished good through experimentation. Okay, Greg, I'm going to unmute you.
Use a finished good to create a new finished good, but is it going to be saleable? Greg?
What's that?
So they took a finished good and they made a new finished good and as an experiment, but is it actually a saleable piece of inventory when we're done?
Sometimes.
Okay.
We're wondering, is there like a module where we can handle something, say, as a department rather than an inventory part or using a manufacturer order?
Well, I like using the manufacturing orders because I can come here and I can go new and I can do a custom manufacturing order and I can have my finished goods be, and I don't know if I have one of these or not. Next. So for my finished goods part, I can make it a non-inventory part that pretend that this is coded to my engineering department. And now I can put on all the parts they consumed. Okay. And then if I go ahead and finish this work order, issue it, what'll happen is all the dollars that they consumed will go to engineering as an expense. And of course, I pick stuff I have no inventory of. And we will have removed these from inventory. You like that approach?
That is one solution. It's just how I can't see very well on my screen. It's very small.
I'm sorry.
So, that's all right. So I may have to just go into the test mode and play with it. But like you said, if we're trying to move stuff to a specific department like engineering, R&D,
So this
production.
one approach, and you have to have the manufacturing version of Fishbowl to use this one. Another approach is when I have this inventory transaction, I can cycle it out and put it into, I can cycle it and put it to a customer job or a QuickBooks class. And then when it gets over to Fishbowl, it gets over to QuickBooks at the end of the month, I can lessen my inventory adjustment account and increase engineering expense. This is also good for marketing and all those trade shows and sales samples.
Okay. Okay.
But it's
what's
but
that?
I can charge my engineering department for the inventory using any of those three methods. So
okay, that's where we're trying to go, is how do we charge things from one department to another? That's one of the issues. Yeah.
And I can set them up as classes. So I might have an engineering class here so that when I go over to QuickBooks, I can run my P&L by class and find how much of the inventory adjustment expense belongs to engineering instead of operations.
Okay. Okay. Hopefully we'll try that, see how that works, Jeanne.
Yeah, but we've got a couple different methodologies on this.
Okay. Okay.
I can also use the customer. So I have a couple of companies. One's got a customer called Zappa, and another one's got a customer called Zeke. And funny enough, they're both in Austin. And so if I charge things to a customer job and I have a fake customer job, I can say Zeke subjob engineering, Zeke subjob marketing, et cetera, and so on. They were actually using their rejects, their quality control rejects, so that we could quantify that. But that's another way of getting there using a customer job.
Okay.
All right.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have Mo. Let me go ahead and unmute Mo. But the question is, I have a technical question and I'm not sure if this is the correct format. I want to know about 2FA, two-factor authentication for Fishbowl and QuickBooks.
Well, at this moment in time, Fishbowl doesn't have any two-factor identification. QuickBooks, I think, is getting there. Which kind of QuickBooks do you have, QBO or QBD?
QBD.
Online or desktop?
Desktop.
Okay, so you saw how they don't really have two-factor identification, but they're moving to this logging into your Intuit account to do like everything, which is annoying for those of us who have 30 or 40 QuickBooks files on their computer, because I'm doing all kinds of data projects. So yeah, it doesn't exist yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mo. Okay, so Lisa has a question.
Hi, Lisa.
Let me unmute her. Okay, so her question
Hi,
is,
Jeanne.
Is there a way to do a mass delete of payments entered in QuickBooks? I have the situation where, due to a Fishbowl glitch, Fishbowl creates duplicate payments and sends them to QuickBooks. How do I delete the duplicates?
Okay. Step number one is you are going to deposit all the good payments. Okay? Because QuickBooks has got a rule, you can't mess with a payment once it's in a deposit. Okay? And then up here, let me go pull out a browser. There is a guy, a place on the internet, totheq.us. And this guy has all kinds of QuickBooks data tools. So if I was just going to go to his utilities, all right, one of his utilities is called Data Deleter, Data Remover, excuse me. And for a whole $50, or maybe let's, yeah, $60. His price has gone up over the years. You can, and I have all of these tools. You can come through here and you can go into Data Remover and tell it to remove your payments within a specific date. So as long as your good payments are in the deposit, this is going to try to delete all the payments, but it'll only delete the ones that are duplicates.
Okay, so if I can isolate the time of when these duplicates were all posted, I can purchase that tool, run the tool, and it will, based on the time frame, delete them all.
Correct.
As long as they're not in deposited.
Deposit. That way you're
Perfect.
So if you deposited all your good payments, then you're safe. But of course, you're going to make a backup before you run the tool.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeanne, can you just say the website name again?
The letter Q, the number 2, the letter Q.us.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll also make sure to link that when we post it on our website.
Yeah.
Okay, so next we're back to Sharmini. Sharmini, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you.
Hi, Sharmini. What are we doing now?
Okay, so Sharmini has a question here. Partially received items for 3 different POs all came in one container. We want the portion, or I think the appropriate freight. Oh, actually, Sharmini, I'm a little confused here. Can you go ahead and ask your question? Sorry.
Sure. Okay. We've never had this happen before, but we sent out 3 purchase orders, and the supplier was in a hurry, and so what they did was they did partials on each of the, or rather that one vendor sent partials on those 3 purchase orders and sent them all in one container. So there's freight and there's duties on that as well. So we've received them, and we're wondering, how do we, like partially fulfill, assign the freight, the duties, and, do all
Okay.
that?
Step number 1 is you're going to take the freight and duties and decide how much of that bill belongs to each PO based on what you received. And so if I've got, let me take one that's entered but not received. Okay. So I can, let me find a better example. So this one was already partially received. We ordered 20 yards, but we received 15. And so it's open for 5 yards. So what I'm going to do is come in here and hit my reconcile button. And I'm going to put in my bill number, and it's okay to have -1, -2. Okay.
Okay.
My bill date is always my receive date. And look how helpful Fishbowl was. They put this column here with the receiving date just for me. Okay, I'm only reconciling the item I received. And now I'm going to take those pieces of the container freight and duties, okay, customs duty, and I'm going to uncheck this box because this way it goes onto the balance sheet as an accrual, so I can post the bill against it. So let's say this one's got $1,000 worth of that container. All right. And now I have a freight in. Oh, container freight. How nice. All right. And let's say that was $1,500 on this item. I'm uncheck the add to vendor bill button. And so what I'm going to get is I'm going to have the portion of the freight and duty landed to just this one item. And I'm going to do the same for the other two POs. Okay. And so the entry, I don't know if we set this up or not. I like to have my landed cost have an accrual account called accrued landed cost.
Okay.
So that my inbound freight and duties and what have you are separated from my outbound shipping.
Okay.
So, because the normal default is shipping accrual, and that's being populated with every outbound shipment. So I like to keep this in a separate bucket in QuickBooks so that it's easy for me to analyze.
Okay.
All right?
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Is it?
Yes. I read your mind. Yes, it's time for Russell.
Okay. And I'd like to introduce you to my good friend Russell Graff with a great add-on for Fishbowl called NetStock.
And hopefully you are seeing my screen at this point.
Yes.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you. Appreciate Terabytes allowing me to intercede here and give her a little bit of a break. I'm always impressed. I got to tell you, those of you in the audience, I assume you are impressed as I am with both the availability that Jeanne gives you, right? The ability to just ask these questions and be available to you to do that. And then the knowledge that she imparts. It's impressive. I've been on the other side of the desk. I've been the Jeanne in my life, implementing and supporting software, and it's impressive. So thank you for the opportunity to spend just a few minutes with you and just share a little bit about what NetStock is. We are both the name of the company and the application is NetStock. We're about a 10-year-old company, just had our 10th birthday late last year. And a global firm, started over in South Africa, moved to the North American market about 8 or 9 years ago, so pretty quickly in the birth of the company. And we now have over 1,600 companies around the globe using our application, which we'll talk a little bit more about. Over 30 countries that some of those customers are in, so a very truly global environment. About 900 of those customers are in North America, so the bulk of our install base, and of course our fastest growing market opportunity. So tons of users managing billions of dollars of inventory every month using our application. And of those, I think we now have about a dozen or so Fishbowl customers. We're on the Fishbowl marketplace website, and then quite a number of those are Terabytes customers as well. So Jeanne has a very good familiarity with our application. And what we do is really we solve a couple of problems for inventory-based businesses, right? So if you're manufacturing, distributing, or if you're in a retail or e-commerce environment, you know that it's challenging to balance the levels of inventory so that you don't stock out, you don't run out of product, because in today's world, especially if you do that, you have a risk of not only losing that sale, but losing that customer, but that you can't solve that problem by simply overbuying. Right, that having too much inventory has some serious implications on the profitability of your business as well. And so if we can reduce that excess stock amount, we free up cash that you can use elsewhere in the business to drive other profit generating activities, right? Marketing, buy more warehouse space, hire more people, whatever it might be, product development investments that you can make. We all have need for that cash flow. There's plenty of projects waiting for us to have the cash to do them. And a lot of it is just sitting stacked up in your warehouse gathering dust. So think of those $1,000 bills sitting there and the shelf in a warehouse, that we can free those up, and we also reduce actual carrying costs, which are hard costs every month. We've really made a big difference in your profitability, but at the same time, we do that without you losing product on hand so that you can support your customers. So that balancing act has always been very challenging, and we know that the folks that are responsible for that, the buyers and the planners in the organization, especially in smaller firms, may be wearing multiple hats. They've got limited time, and they're trying to leverage the tools that QuickBooks and Fishbowl give them, which are a great starting point. But they don't get you all the way to a full best practices where I can really make sure that every time I create a purchase order, that it is exactly what I need to buy at exactly the right time, based on all the factors relative to lead time and performance of my suppliers, what my demand is for those products, when I expect that demand to present itself, and so forth. So these are really the three what we would call value propositions that by deploying the NetStock application, you really get value in the business. And we like to talk about kind of two sides of the coin, of the inventory management coin, right? When you think about inventory management, a lot of times our minds go to what is really just one aspect of it, which we would call inventory control. And so Fishbowl does an outstanding job of helping us manage the movement of the product, right? And knowing where we have it, how much we have, maybe helping us do physical counts and keep accurate information as to those quantities on hand and locations for those items. Critically important, but it doesn't answer the second question. The flip side of the coin is it the right stuff? Do I have the right level of product at the right place at the right time to meet my customer demand, or to be able to support a manufacturing or an assembly process in my manufacturing environment to make sure that I don't have to slow down or shut down a production line for lack of a raw material or some component. And so that's the side of the equation that NetStock brings to bear, is marrying ourselves with that Fishbowl data, now do the analytics against that data and give us really a great picture of the health of our inventory, and making sure that we've got the right levels in place to meet our requirements. And so we do that with a forecasting engine. We've got over 30 different algorithms built into our forecasting engine, so it looks at historical information and predicts what that future demand is going to be. It's never perfect because it's a best guess, but it's a really sophisticated algorithm, some really high quality math going on that does the best possible job that you can do. And then based on those analyses, it helps you understand what you need to order, and it helps you identify which are the most important items to focus on. If you've got 100 or 500 or 1,000 SKUs or more, you know that you can't look at every single one in every location every single day. So give me a tool that helps me bubble up to the top to my attention which ones are the most important, right? Which items are going to have the biggest impact on my profitability, and let me hone in on those in the limited time and effort time that I have available to me. So that's really the design of this product, is really to answer two key questions: what needs my attention, and what do I need to order? And so by inference, what needs my attention means that we're going to take a status check of every single item in every location every single day, and we're going to identify whether it's in a good state, or whether it's already too low, or is run out, or it has too much, or is about to have too much. So we understand that under that analysis for every location, for every item, and we are served by that by identifying how we classify those items, right? We do an ABC analysis. We also do an analysis of speed of movement, high, medium, low, and we get this resulting product understanding and awareness. And then that helps us drive investment policies and service levels. And then again, we bring that forecasting engine to bear. And the way we do this is we simply extract the data from Fishbowl on a nightly basis. It's all automated. So we've already written the scripts. Again, we're a certified, tested application for Fishbowl. We grab the data every single night in a very secure fashion. It gets uploaded, compressed and encrypted, and uploaded into our private cloud environment. And then we do all of our analytics there. And in 15, 20 minutes, typically, we're presenting all that raw data from all these disparate files in the Fishbowl database. We aggregate all that and present it back as very actionable information in a browser. So it's a cloud-based application, any browser, any device, anytime, anywhere, on-demand type of availability of this data. We present that dashboard that highlights and exposes which are the most needed items that need my attention, and we give all those recommendations and all that analytics and analysis. And so here's an example, just a couple quick screenshots, and we'll send it back over to Jeanne to carry on. But just to give you a feel, When we grab all that data, this is a typical dashboard view that you would be presented with that shows you what your current stock holding is versus the ideal model. What could you get by with? Where are you all in excess? And what are those items underneath that list that are the most important, the most excess items that I can start to focus on? And then this concept of a surplus order in the upper right corner here, where we say, here's a purchase order that's been issued that when it arrives, it's going to contribute more to my excess problem. I don't need it yet. It's coming in too early. So maybe I can work with my vendor, get ahead of the curve a little bit and have them delay a shipment or combine it with a later purchase order so that it doesn't come in quite yet. I don't create more of a problem. Conversely, on the lower row here of data elements or widgets, if you will, on the dashboard, I'm seeing how I'm doing against my target fill rate. And I can see the progress that I'm making over time with the bar chart. Where am I currently stocked out and what might that cost me in terms of lost sales, and which are the top 5 items underneath there contributing most to that challenge. And then on the right column, similar to surplus orders, potential stockouts. Where do I still have stock, but we anticipate that we're going to run out of before the next replenishment arrives? And again, maybe then I could expedite or partially expedite an order, right? Air freight a piece of it or whatever, so that I can avoid that stock out problem because I understand what my demand is for that item. I understand what POs have been issued and when they're expected to arrive based on lead times and supplier performance. So I've got a really good understanding of the health of that inventory and the challenges that I'm having and where I need to focus my attention. And I talked a little bit about that classification process. This is really critical to helping to identify, prioritize where I need to spend my time and energy. The items that fall into the categories in the upper right that are color-coded green, right? High value, fast moving items that I probably want to have my target fill rates be higher, maybe manage my replenishment cycles a little bit tighter, all those things that might focus my attention there, as opposed to items that categorize in the lower left as low value, slower moving items. I might even question why I bother stocking those. Maybe I rationalize those every 6 months or every quarter and maybe pull some of those out of inventory and just have them be on order or non-stocked items. Or maybe I have a vendor that can manage that for me if I've got them down the street and they have good lead time performance for me. Or they're nuts and bolts for a manufacturing process and I just buy them twice a year in as big a bulk as I can, save as much money as I can and put them in the corner of the warehouse. The point is the visibility that this allows me now to make some good decision making regarding how I manage my inventory, and that's going to drive profitability. And if I go back to that dashboard, you'll see some of that color coding of these items reflected there, which again helps me prioritize where I'm going to spend my time and energy in the limited time I've got today to manage it. Just a quick glimpse of our forecasting environment, right? We're looking at historical unit consumption of a given item in a given location, and then I have the ability to amend that forecast so that I can make adjustments if my sales team is telling me or there's something going on in the marketplace. Obviously, this last year with the COVID-19 impacts, supply chains have been completely upended and volatile and up and back and forth and open and then closed and then open again. It's just been a challenging environment. And so our folks that have this tool have really been able to manage all that volatility much more effectively than if you were trying to do it with a spreadsheet or some other kind of custom report. So again, that visibility has been really helpful. And then the last thing I'll show you here, this is an example of how we look at what our order opportunities are. We say, create this kind of pro forma purchase order. We have all the information at our fingertips as to why NetStock is making the recommendation that they are as to what to purchase and what the impact of that is in terms of cost. And if I'm tracking volumes or weights, I can look at that in terms of container management and so forth. Again, all at your fingertips as a buyer planner. I can create the perfect purchase order in a matter of minutes, what used to take hours or days, if not weeks, to get it right. And then we just click a button and it goes and creates the purchase order automatically for you in Fishbowl. So you don't have to rekey it and you know it's exactly right. And I think it's important for you to understand that because we've got so many customers, we've done so many implementations, we have a very mature onboarding process. We do a great job of getting people up and running very quickly and very cost effectively. It's all done remotely, all via the internet and self-learning video and email content. We've got an embedded, built right into the application, a product we call Simon, which is a learning management tool that tracks your performance, gives you some quizzes. And then, of course, we provide all kinds of coaching along the way to make sure that you're getting this thing fully up and running quickly. Not at all uncommon to be up and running in 4 to 6 weeks in most distribution environments, maybe another week or two if you've got bills of materials that we need to manage and blow through those component levels of demand, which we support as well. Or if you've got a central distribution environment with multiple secondary locations or storefronts, we support all that. That might take an extra week or two. But we go through that process very cleanly and do a great job with that. So just wanted you to be aware that there's a better way to do it than spreadsheets. You know, you'll see us hashtag ditch the spreadsheets. And we've got lots of content out there on our website. There's my contact information. I'd be happy to speak with any of you directly. Just let us know that you heard about us on this presentation, or certainly reach out to Jeanne and she can advise you as how other customers of hers have really benefited from this application. Now, we've got a couple of websites that you may want to go to and learn a little bit more as well. Netstock.co, it's not .com, that's not a typo, netstock.co or netstock.tv, where there's lots of additional content out there as well. So with that, Jeanne, I'll turn it back over to you to carry on with your outstanding consulting and support services.
Who is my next questioner?
Okay, we're trying to understand what are the best reports to empower our accounting team that's in a QuickBooks environment, whereas the rest of our team is in a Fishbowl environment. We're currently providing them the asset evaluation by account report on a daily basis, but we're really wanting to make sure we're capturing sales and cost of goods sold and, you know, information like that and providing it to them.
Okay, so from Sharmini's questions, you know that I recommend that we set up that asset valuation by account to run every night, because even though my Fishbowl people think they've solved the problem, I personally have never experienced a report at a prior point in time that was completely accurate with respect to inventory value. So that part you're doing right. They have a cost of goods sold by account summary, and we must need to give it some dates. And you can do that. So those are their regular ones. And then they have these export summary reports, okay? And these are based upon transaction type. So I can go through here and do, you know, my different purchase orders, sales orders, work orders, and we get there, okay? The problem with these export reports is there is absolutely no differentiation between an inventory item and a non-inventory item, or things that are going to sales account A versus sales account B, etc. And, you know, so what we did, thank you for, you know, inviting me to do a commercial here, is we went through each of those reports. And did them such that they exported to Excel nicely, and B, at the end, summarize the accounts that we're going to hit with on the QuickBooks side. Okay, so we did those for each export type: inventory adjustments, sales transactions, work order transactions, and purchase transactions is probably the most important one. And so these are all in a package. And these are designed by an accountant to do what me, the accountant, feels like needs to be done. So that said, there aren't a whole lot of reports for accountants. In the sales report thing, we have kind of an issue because the people on the sales order, the report writing team, tended to things like sales reps. So it's a sale if I've got it coming soon. You know, if I've taken the order, it's a sale in a salesperson's mind. But in an accountant's mind, it is not a sale until title has changed hands. So an awful lot of the Fishbowl sales reports are based upon the status of the entire sales order as opposed to whether or not something's been shipped to a customer, which is why we have problems finding good ones here. I have found that the margins by sales order is a relatively decent one. So I could say show only shipped items and then other headers. Okay. And then we hoped we get, sorry, this is demo database I haven't used in a while. So I need to do some date ranges. So this will get you there. You can put details on it. To tie it out. The other, also the sales order summary, I find that one to be fairly good because it has a column for my shipped items. So I kind of want everything. But is that helpful?
Absolutely.
So in general, there's a lot of frustration trying to compare a Fishbowl sales report to an accountant's version of sales, because they're taking it from the viewpoint of the sales order status. And I can run a report today, and tomorrow the sales order status can change from in progress to fulfilled or canceled short, and my numbers can wiggle. So obviously I recommend my reports, but but getting there in Fishbowl, you can get there with this one and the sales order summary one. I consider to be a pretty good report.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Next.
Okay, next we have Leah. She
Good morning,
was
Leah.
actually doing a follow-up question to Sharmini's question. So let me unmute her real quick.
So when we try to set up the daily valuation report, because it's not set up in the system, I get a message that says, where did it go? It said that it can't create the directory path.
That means you need to go set up that report to save on the server where the Fishbowl server is running. So you need an IT guy to help you figure out where you can save it, or you can go to the instance where the server is running and save it there.
Okay, thank you.
Sharmini's question is next. Let's see, Sharmini.
So this is a follow-up onto my question about the recognizing the POs earlier. So we just started adding on the freight and the duties when we received and fulfilled the POs in our Fishbowl system this year. Only this year we've started doing it. So it's still a trial and error thing for us. So when I recognized the freight and the duties, I unticked the box. I didn't want it to go to the vendor. And my main aim was to make sure that the cost of goods sold was higher, taking into account freight and duties. So
Correct.
when I looked, and when I went into QuickBooks, I saw that the freight and duties as a combined number has come in as landed cost into the inventory asset account. So I'm not sure how to deal with it, because I have
don't
two
do anything
for that.
Fishbowl will take that landed cost and expense it to cost of goods sold when you sell the product.
Okay. So now that it's
don't play with it in QuickBooks. Leave it alone. I know that second tab has got all kinds of screwy looking entries, but they're correct. They work out. They balance. All right.
So what about it when I recognize the vendor's invoices? Because freight
when you
and
get
duties,
the vendor's invoice, you code it to accrued landed cost or shipping accrual.
Okay. And then, oh, then when I pay them off, I knock it off against the accrual as well.
No, the payment goes through accounts payable. So the normal flow would be Fishbowl's going to send the landed cost pieces to shipping accrual, or if you've created a landed cost accrual, that account. And then you're going to put so there's a credit there. And then the debit, we're going to come in and post, we're going to go bring in the bill, and we're going to credit accounts payable and debit landed cost accrual. And then when you pay your bill, you're just paying your bill normally like you would through accounts payable.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll look into that then. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so now we have Jeffrey.
Good
Hi,
afternoon.
Jeffrey.
Hi. So the question that I have is similar to what the prior question with QTQ data removal. We have a situation where we're still posting all of our payments directly through Fishbowl, which obviously is not the best choice. But the only reason that we do that is it's necessary to have a little bit more information other than, you know, what our customers' balance is. You need to know which specific invoices are open, unpaid, and it is the best thing to do the entries through QuickBooks as far as the payments, and then duplicate the data and then remove the data.
Okay. So are you selling on terms or are you selling e-commerce?
Term.
Okay, so I'm going to suggest that selling on terms and taking my payment in Fishbowl is a lot of extra work.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we all agree on that. And the reason we're taking it on terms is we need to know who's been a naughty boy and who's good. Right? Is that
Sure, absolutely, of course. So sometimes what happens is some invoices are paid and some invoices are not paid. And the people that are actually responsible for collecting and sales, they need to know specifically which invoices are paid and which ones are not. And by just checking the balance without going to someone in accounting who's got QuickBooks privileges to run a report is not very, very practical. There's a number of other Fishbowl users that have expressed the same concerns. The other thing is that we get sometimes fault payments by credit cards, where some of our customers will pay 175 invoices, you know, at the end of the month.
Yeah.
And it's just not practical to be, as you had said, it's not a good way.
Yeah. Okay, so it is much more efficient to take those payments in QuickBooks. And once we post those payments in QuickBooks, we end up with customer balances. Is there any reason in the world why accounting or somebody could get in the habit of coming in the morning and I don't know how I got such a messy desktop, and coming in here to customer statements and, you know,
Running report.
email them to the sales team so that they have, you know, open balances and exactly which invoices are paid or not paid?
No, I guess that's one solution. That's one way of doing it. Is that the way most people do it?
Pardon?
Is that the standard practice that most people should be doing?
Well, I'm just trying to give you a solution.
Sure.
Because if I've got somebody who paid 175 invoices on one check, that means I have to go to 175 orders in Fishbowl and divide that check up amongst all those people. And then after it gets to QuickBooks, I got to put it all back together again. You know, which is just crazy making. So I bet you could convince accounting that, you know, creating customer statements or running a, you know, AR aging report and handing it out to you guys, they'd be really happy to do that in exchange for not having to struggle with posting all those payments to QuickBooks.
Absolutely.
I think they take that trade-off.
Okay.
Now, if we want something more sophisticated, there are ways to data mine QuickBooks and Fishbowl and have them in a single database that you can look up outside of QuickBooks. But let's try this and see how well it flies.
Okay,
All right.
good answer. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so we still have a couple more questions. I see Peter Shad. I think there you have your hand raised. Let's go ahead and see what you have to say. Peter?
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. Hi, Jeanne.
Hi.
It's my first webinar, and I'm very impressed, so I'll keep attending. I just want to ask this question. So we recently switched over to Fishbowl, or implemented Fishbowl for the very first time, and I noticed we had a PO that had a line item with a quantity of 3, and those 3 items were received all on the same day, all had the same date. But the vendor only invoiced us for one of them. And so we went to PO reconcile that invoice against that line, and we weren't able to do it because 3 were received, they're all on one line, and we only got billed for one. So we thought, well, we could wait until the other 2 bills come in and do them all at once, but that's going to delay payments to the vendor. So is our assumption correct that you can't do that? And so we've instructed the receiving person, put them on different lines, or even when the purchase order is done, split it out so each one's a different line. Is that the way to solve that issue?
That sounds like too much work for the receiving guy. Because under invoicing is not a normal vendor trade.
Right.
So for a one-time thing, so if I was going to do anything to 50143 here, I'm going to pretend that's received. Okay. And whatever. So I've now got this guy. And now I'm going to go over here and on my PO, let's see, what can I do here? All right, are you able to void this line?
You mean void the receipts?
Yeah, the individual receipt for 3.
We tried voiding receipts once and we got an error message, and you don't always get it, but sometimes you do. When we contacted the Fishbowl support, they said, yeah, sometimes there's a tag issue, and if you call support, they can remove that tag, but that's a pain too.
Well,
I mean, the best thing I think is to just, if we know we're going to get billed singularly like that, to put them on different lines.
Yeah, but that's but that in general, that's a very rare occurrence.
Right. No, it is. It is. I just didn't know if maybe there was a workaround that we weren't aware of.
Maybe I would have sent let's assume the vendor billed us at the right cost and everything else. Maybe I go ahead and reconcile that over into QuickBooks and then put in a bill credit or something, or a way to, I know, just put it all over to QuickBooks and then partial pay it for the amount they actually billed you for. I can do that in accounts payable. So when I go here, vendors pay bills.
Yeah.
All right. I have the ability, this is a $35,000 bill. I have the ability to only pay $10,000 or $100.
So you would put that bill into QuickBooks as, the normal flow, it wouldn't be in QuickBooks yet, right? Until you did the PO reconcile.
Well, I would go ahead and reconcile it for the quantity of 3.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Let it go over to QuickBooks for the quantity of 3 and then partial pay.
Oh, okay. I see.
That I think is a much better answer.
Right. Okay. Yep.
So accounting's the only one involved in the fact they underbilled us, and we've got operations and everybody else is off the hook.
Right. And just as a quick follow-up to that, during the transition period, we had some, POs that were outside of Fishbowl, and then some were in Fishbowl. When we went live, we wanted to enter in, open items at that time, and then when the bills came in, they were paying stuff that was, outside of Fishbowl and inside of Fishbowl. So right now we have some open, POs that have already been paid, and I've taken care of the accounting parts, but they're always going to be open in Fishbowl. And so, what's the best way? I'm sorry.
Just close them short.
Okay.
Because in both Fishbowl and QuickBooks, a PO is just a placeholder.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I should be able to close them short, you're saying?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So I gotta find something that's, yeah, I can only close short something that's actually been received against. And then it gets it off your list and they're out of the way.
Right. Well,
That
I guess
the cutoff between QuickBooks and Fishbowl has to be managed fairly thoroughly.
right. Now, I think we do have some items that have not been received against. We just did it that way. So I can't close short those, but what support told me I should do.
Delete them or void them.
So you can just void that PO and, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, there's POs and sales orders by themselves are not what posts to QuickBooks.
Right, they don't generate any entries.
QuickBooks is
Right.
transactions against those forms. So if I've got an open PO that I put in that I'm never going to receive against because it's, I don't need it.
Yeah.
Just delete it or void it and live happily ever after.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. That sounds like an easy solution.
It took me a couple of minutes to come up with it, but you almost stumped.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, so we have 3 more questions here from Greg, Lisa, and Toby. Toby's just pretty fast to answer. He asked if you provide on-site consulting for setting up standard inventory practices for Fishbowl and QuickBooks.
Of course I do, Toby. Until COVID hit, I had Marriott Platinum member.
So yeah, Toby, we'll go ahead and discuss that with you. When's a good time to have her visit on site? Okay, so now we have Greg. Is there a way to pick multiple small inventory tags to fulfill one large line on an SO or MO?
Yes, there is. Okay. So this is on 2 different tags. Let me see if I can find something that better fits your needs. Because what we have right now is we have module options here under pick about how we're going to behave. And this is, we're going to pick in a FIFO manner. But one of my other choices is I can pick to clean the tags. Okay. So it's there. It's going to suggest your FIFO pick, but you can go and overwrite it in here and pick all the different tags you want to use to clean them up. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Cool.
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Jeanne. Perfect.
Okay,
right.
So we have Lisa left, and Lisa, she says, I plan to invoice out of Fishbowl. I wonder if there's a way to check or notate that a sales order that's fulfilled has been invoiced or sent, and if it's by mail. So let me just unmute her.
Okay, so the act of shipping creates an invoice. So this is just a terminology moment that I want to go through. And that act of shipping queues up an invoice to go to QuickBooks. Okay. Fishbowl has 2 templates for invoicing. One is a real invoice template that is based upon what has been shipped. And the other is just an invoice template that it's the sales order with the word invoice across the top of it. Okay. I personally feel as though it's easier to send an invoice out of QuickBooks than it is out of Fishbowl. And, you know, and if what you want to know is want to make sure that the invoice has been set against the sales order, I suppose we could use the memo field here. I think it makes more sense to go to the shipping module because that's where the invoice is actually being generated, and either have a custom field here that says, yes, I've sent the invoice, or no, I have not sent the invoice. Something like that. Lisa?
Are you able to input into a custom field once it's been fulfilled and sent to QuickBooks?
Okay, so we're gonna find out. So let's just go take something that is shipped. This has been shipped. And no, I cannot enter in the custom field. I can put something here. I can put a note here. I think, nope, all grayed out. I can use my tracking field, but you're probably using a tracking field for real tracking numbers.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think I'm in a similar situation to what Jeff earlier was talking about, where the office are all on Fishbowl. That's the issue.
Pardon?
The office only has access to Fishbowl.
Okay.
And that's why we invoice, we pay out of Fishbowl. It's a management decision. I know what you're thinking. I'm a CPA, so I'm with you, but that's not how operations people think.
Okay, but I can fill up a custom field on the sales order after it's been fulfilled. So no for the shipping, and yes for the sales order. So I can make a custom field for my sales order. Set up a custom field. There we go. And I can go new, and I'm going to say it's off a sales order. And I can say invoice delivered, because that way you have a couple choices as how you deliver the invoice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you can do more. And then I can make this a checkbox. And so now that I have that, I think that has to go. I think I might have to reboot it, but let's just go to sales orders and pick a different fulfilled one. Nope. Ah, yes, I don't have to restart. So there's my checkbox.
So
You
just
can also make it a drop-down box where yes, no, or you could pick a delivery method. So you could have a checklist that says, you know, this invoice was emailed, this one was snail mailed, whatever.
Okay, so by creating a custom field of a checkbox or a pull down, I am able to process it and use it after it's been fulfilled and sent to QuickBooks.
Yes, we approve that.
Perfect, thank you. And just a quick follow-up, you mentioned, or you showed us some of your accounting sales report. And you said you guys do that. How do we, is it something we download from your site? How do we have access to
It is
that?
a package of 10 reports for a really high price of $500 for the whole, all 10. So we have the reports that will allow us to roll forward and roll back. We also have the reports that allow us to analyze our inventory. So like we took this custom layers with accounting source. And this guy is exportable to QuickBooks, which the other one is not. The Fishbowl one's not. We threw in a standard cost column. If you wanted to put in, whether you're using standard cost or not, if you wanted to put in a standard cost column to compare, how our purchase is going back and forth, it's also a great way to find out where my zeros might be. And then we hyperlink to the source of the transaction. So it's like, well, how did this get in here? I can go over and I can look at the actual transaction and see the transaction that created the layer. All right. We also have a couple of things that, to me are obvious. On the inventory valuation report by account, Fishbowl does not give us quantity on hand and unit cost. It just gives us a grand total dollar value. So for each of the costing methods. So every auditor in the world knows you need to know what your on-hand quantity is, and you need to do your testing. Then I have a report that shows my payment transactions that were entered into Fishbowl. All right, and because this is a demo database, everything was cash. And then this guy is my transaction detail receiving. This is the guy that tells me whether or not people are following my rules. And using the receive date as the bill date, this also allows me to, if I've made the conscious decision that I'm going to go ahead and accrue dollars because I have a parent company that wants me to book it when they ship it, blah, 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 I can come in through here and I can quantify what my crossovers between month ends and what have you are. Okay. It also tells you the detailed history of receiving, because when you look at the receiving screen, it really doesn't show you that you've had 2, 3, 4 receipts as well. Okay. And then I got a sales tax detail report, and I have a valuation, a FIFO valuation by location groups, because that's a missing report in Fishbowl. So anyway, you can buy them online.
Yes, they're on our website on the shop page. They're called the Controller's Toolbox reports, and once you pay for them, they're able to be downloaded. And if you need help installing, I can go ahead and assist you with that. Okay,
so we lost a couple of people, which makes my heart ache, but they had what looked like some pretty good questions.
Yeah, are we talking about Jamie and David?
Yes, I don't know why they left. Maybe because I went over an hour.
Oh, Jeffrey had a question about the Controls Toolbox. When Fishbowl updates, will your reports update?
Okay. If Fishbowl breaks our reports, we will fix our reports and deliver them back out for free. That isn't the case for a custom report, but for this package, we will do that. So they've broken them a few times over the years, but we've always just updated the package and sent them back out. Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so Jamie and David's question. So Jamie, is there a way to set a minimum quantity for stocking in Fishbowl?
Yes. Right here under the part. And I got to pick the inventory part. Guess what that company did? Is this right here, and we can set minimum order quantities and order up maximum levels here. And we can do it company-wide, or we can do it by location group. So that's right here. Then in addition to that, there's this cute little wizard that once you have history in Fishbowl, will allow you to have Fishbowl calculate those levels for you based upon different attributes and economic order quantities. All right. Okay.
And then last question from David. What happens to the old company file in QuickBooks when you create a new one? And if you create a new company file and export from Fishbowl to QuickBooks, what will be populated on the new company file?
Well, I'm hoping he's talking about QuickBooks Desktop, because QuickBooks Desktop will always be around on your server unless someone deletes it. QuickBooks Online, you have to keep paying for that old QuickBooks file so you can access it in the future. So it's not as friendly to new files. With respect to if I post from Fishbowl to QuickBooks to a new file, I'm going to get vendors, customers, and transactions over into the new file. With respect to trial balances and everything like that, those will have to be entered manually. All right.
Okay, so we're all done with the questions, Jeanne. Nice job.
Okay. Thank you very much for viewing this video. And we at Terabyte Solutions are a full service Fishbowl support firm. So we would like to help you with your Fishbowl issues. Give us a ring at 949-645-1019 and we will be happy to help. Thank you very much. Bye.